Hey, how are you doing, YouTube land? Welcome back to another devlog of Recharge Royale. And yeah, today I'm just going over in this video where I started to implement a little bit of combat mechanics with phase um, and starting to work with the enemies and their combat mechanics. I think in this particular video, I was working with death, I believe, and displaying damage. So yeah, it's really as I always say, I'll probably say it at least once a video. It's pretty quick to prototype in blueprints. Um, here I'm working with sending and receiving damage. When the input is pressed, we're firing a projectile that has a particle effect in it, and when it, I believe, overlapping, I'm using the projectile component, um, and when it overlaps with anything that I have already preset up to I think it's block is what I'm using. It will stop movement, destroy the particle effect, and and spawn a particle effect for the type of impact of the surface. So if it's an enemy, it'll be one particle effect. If it's anything else, basically a static mesh, it'll be another. So, um, and a lot of times I'll have like a empty level. That way I don't have any, visual noise. It's not necessarily uh, for any other reason. Sometimes it's just I find it easier for myself to develop in a empty level, especially if I might be struggling with a particular mechanic or logic or stuff like that. A lot of times I'll just open up an empty level depending on what I'm working on. I'll strip it all the way down to its bare minimum so that way there's no interlocking logic, and I'll work on a thing, get it working, and then if necessary find a way to integrate it back to my other pre-existing um, blueprints or whatnot. So in this situation here, I did something like that, and so it was just easier for me to be able to jump in and out of an empty level, fire off some inputs or whatever, making sure that the projectiles are working as intended, and hitting surfaces like they're supposed to and things like that. So um, outside of that, the things were going pretty good in this. Basically, what ended up happening, well, what I did with both of these prototypes were essentially they were originally game jam ideas, which I did. I went forth, created them, and at this point, I'm pretty much converting them over into prototypes, right? Um, or if you could be a little bit more precise, I'm kind of really polishing it up from a game jam into more of a prototype, vertical slice, if you will. I think it's more of a prototype because I'm pretty much making an entire game loop, a pretty in depth one in both of these prototypes. So I think it's more than a jam. I think it's more than a vertical slice, but definitely less than a game, right? So a full production game. So um, and here I'm basically messing with a visual portal of sorts. I've changed that concept several times since this video. But at the time of this video, it was a portal that really more of a teleportation portal that I wanted the enemies to seem like they were coming out of. Chris Murphy has an awesome web course of creating just that, where through masking and things like that, through the material and using world coordinates and stuff like that, it'll literally look like they're coming out of the portal. And I wanted to initially do something like that, but after some thought, I just didn't really think it was gonna really be worth it for me to kind of go through that trouble because it's a prototype, right? You'll probably hear me say that as well too. Why certain things I just didn't really want to invest the time into to really learning how to do. If I was going to invest that time, I'd rather invest it from a standpoint of actually doing it in the Heavenly Chronicles project versus just doing it here in this prototype and possibly having to either redo it and or make adjustments to it in Heavenly Chronicles. So there's certain things I don't mind doing in these prototypes, especially because they may fit the themes of these prototypes. And there's other things that I'm just deciding that I rather just go ahead and do, whether I've done it for the first time or I've done it for 1,000 times before that. I'd rather just go ahead and do it inside the actual project of Heavenly Chronicles. So it's just really a case per case basis. Really, I can't say any rhyme or reason, but it's just really whether it's a time effort, whether it's just me not feeling like dealing with it more than once, um, maybe even not completely being sold on the idea of whether it will make it in to Heavenly Chronicles. So I think that's something that every developer deals with. So, um, especially in terms of certain aspects from an idea phase, making it into the final production. So, this is no different. So, but as you can see here, we have the enemies in. We were working, testing things out, tweaking them as we're going. In this game, I think at first I was doing something to the extent of maybe one or two hits. Basically, we're defeating enemies. I think I kind of switched over to almost like a little bit more robust health system to where different types of enemies we're going to have different health um, amounts of health. And so it wasn't just really going to be one, two, or three different hits. It would be actually trying to, take the health all the way down to zero. So here I am, back in it again, testing the enemies, and even with the deaths, I was trying things out. I like to experiment a lot since, like I said, I'm in the prototype, and it really is pretty quick, pretty fast to prototype in Blueprints itself. And so at first I was working with having the enemies die when they die, enabling physics on them. Um, I felt that it would just be a little easier if I went ahead and actually used a proper death animation. The just enabling physics on them without any force being applied. The bodies would just kind of drop in a limp type animation. So I didn't really want that. I wanted something a little bit more dramatic, flying back, especially since the main character has projectiles. And so I felt that it was pretty necessary to go ahead and actually use a proper animation. But that'll wrap up this video here. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And ring that notification bell so you can be informed when I release more videos. And hey, you can always catch me over on twitch.tv, Divine Dev Studios. We have lots of fun over there. Talk about all kinds of various topics, video game related or not. And so come over there, bring an interesting topic, and let's talk about it. All right. Until the next video, I will see you later. Bye.